I am going to be giving you an update on my infertility journey this video. I don't really know where to start because I feel like so much has happened since my last video. So I'm just gonna dive in and I'll try to start back at where I left off on my last video. So that was in March 2019. It is now July 2019. And we had just done 2 IUIs, which are intrauterine inseminations, and they were medicated. So I was doing hormonal injections, a trigger shot, etc. And they didn't work. So we decided to take a break and to not only just try naturally, but to honestly just stop trying. And I've gotten a lot of questions from you girls about why we stopped trying, why we didn't go through more IUIs. And I think that the best way to summarize it is just, it was too hard on Luca, honestly. The easiest way to put it is that we were just really too overwhelmed and stressed and exhausted mentally, emotionally, and Luca had a hard time with seeing me go through everything with all the injections. So we decided to just take a break from it all, and we were hoping that the whole, like, everyone says, as soon as you stop trying, it'll happen, which is not always the case. It was not the case for us. I know that probably a lot of you are hoping to have a happy announcement in this video, and there's not. It's okay. You know, this entire process to me is just kind of one big life experience. I've never been afraid of struggles in life. Not to say that I welcome this struggle. I think that most things, I can't say all things because some horrible things happen in life, but most things happen for a reason. We don't know that reason yet, but we have faith that we will find out someday. I will say that while we are not pregnant, there's been a lot that I've learned in these last 4 months. I'm gonna just briefly touch on some of these topics because a lot has happened in these last 4 months, and there are 2 main topics I really want to focus on, but there's some other small things I want to mention. From that last video, I shared that I had stopped taking my thyroid medication, and a lot of you were not happy about that, and I understand why, but I want you guys to know that this was purely a kind of a mini experiment for myself, because I wanted to know, do I truly need this medication? And so I went off it for only 1 month. And I also want to point out that I do not have very extreme thyroid symptoms. Like I never have. So I knew that going off it for a bit that I wouldn't be like causing any like havoc on my body. I did go off it for a month. I got my thyroid tested, and I do need it. It was at a 4.3, which is really high. So I did get back on Synthroid, and my levels got back down to normal with each passing month. I do also want to point out that I did go through more thorough thyroid testing to rule out Hashimoto's or Graves', and I don't have either. So I was able to check that off. A few other things that I was told to do over these last few months is to up my vitamin D. I was taking 1,000 units, and they told me to up it to 5,000 units. I am also taking 600 milligrams of ubiquinol or CoQ10. And that is just kind of honestly touching the surface of the supplements that I take. I'm gonna do another video where I go into detail about all the products that I'm using, things that I've been swapping out for more natural products, as well as the supplements I'm taking, so stay tuned for that. Another thing aside from the vitamin D that I was told to take was DHEA. And I was told to take 25 milligrams 3 times a day. And I started off with only taking it 1 time a day. And that cycle, I got my period after 14 days. There's nothing more frustrating than getting your period early period if you're trying to conceive, but 14 days, I called my doctor and they were like, immediately stop taking DHEA. So I don't want to say this to make anyone think that they shouldn't take it, because there absolutely are cases where you need to take it. My case was one where we learned the hard way that I need not to. So this is also just a really big disclaimer. There are no supplements that I would just recommend as a blanket recommendation for everyone, because it really depends on your levels. So whatever I'm taking, it does not mean that you need to take it. It really depends on your blood work, your levels, etc. So please get your blood taken to know what you need to take. Other than that, I was also told to eat a gluten-free and dairy-free diet. I don't have celiac disease. I'm not gluten intolerant. I don't really have, and I'm not dairy intolerant either. I don't really have adverse side effects to either of those things. And I shared about this on my Insta stories before, and I shared how my doctor said that when I go to Italy, when I go to Europe, I don't need to eat gluten and dairy free. Only in the United States. So I've had a few conversations with you guys via DM about like why, like what is the difference? Some of you have experienced it firsthand. I got so many DMs from you girls that have gone to Europe and that you're like, I have gluten intolerance or dairy intolerance and I could eat it fine over there. And in fact, I had like the least bloating, etc. This is a whole nother beast to talk about, so I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail, but really it comes down to how our food is farmed here. It's the industry here, it's the food industry. So something to keep in mind. Yeah, like I said, that's a whole nother beast. But so I was told, since I live in the United States, to eat dairy-free and gluten-free. They did say though that gluten-free was more important than dairy-free. Dairy is okay as long as it is sourced from reliable sources. With that being said, I do already pretty much eat gluten and dairy-free. The only dairy that I eat is Greek yogurt and some cheese here and there, so I did start cutting that out. Gluten, I really don't eat gluten, but I was being more proactive about checking labels and ensuring that what I am eating is gluten-free. So those are the main little things that I was told to do or change. And then enter the month that I decided to get tested for my progesterone levels. For those of you that don't know, if you haven't seen my prior videos, so there are 3 main parts of your cycle. So you get your period, then you ovulate, and then you get your period again. From when you get your period to when you ovulate, that's called the follicular phase, and that's when estrogen rises. And then when you ovulate to when you get your period again, that's when progesterone rises, and that is called the luteal phase. So progesterone is required to sustain a pregnancy, and I always suspected that I had low progesterone. One way to kind of figure out if you have low progesterone is if you get your period early. If you have a short luteal phase, a luteal phase should normally be about 12 to 14 days. So 10 days or less is typically a short luteal phase. There's also something called a luteal phase defect. This entire time since I got off birth control, I've had a short luteal phase. I always thought that I might have low progesterone, but my doctors never tested it. They never like said, hey, let's test this. It was only after months and months of me being like, I really feel like I have low progesterone, that I decided to test it. And when you test progesterone is at 7 DPO, that means 7 days post-ovulation, or normally around day 21 in your cycle, but it's more important the 7 DPO because you might ovulate, say, at day 10, and then 7 days after ovulation would be day 17 of your cycle. So this is where tracking ovulation and all that really becomes a necessity. And the first month that I tested progesterone, I was using progesterone supplements. It was 200 milligrams once a day. And at 7 DPO, my level came back at 8.5, which is low. It's supposed to be about 15 in order to sustain a pregnancy. So 8.5. So the next month I doubled my dose. I did 200 milligrams twice a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. And my level at 7 DPO was 7.9. It was lower than the month that I was taking a lower dose. Like, I don't even know how that's possible. And in that moment, I was so frustrated. I was just like, what is going on? Like, why do I have such low progesterone? Why are these supplements not working? Just an FYI, low progesterone is usually from stress and a variety of other things, but stress has always been something that I'm skeptical could be a contributing factor. I don't think that it is the thing. It definitely could, you know, be a small piece of that puzzle. So I was kind of at a loss, like what am I supposed to do about my low progesterone if supplements aren't even working? So I went to my doctor and she said that my body is just not absorbing the progesterone supplements for whatever reason. And she said, well, during IVF, you will get progesterone injections and your body will be able to absorb that a lot better. A part of me feels like, why do I need to do IVF to do those injections? Like, why can't I just do those injections while trying naturally? I mean, I genuinely don't know the answer to that question. It's just something that I'm like, do I need to go through IVF for these shots? I'm kind of kicking myself for not finding out earlier and not testing my progesterone earlier, because it's a suspicion that I had for so long. And I'm not gonna lie, there's a bit of like frustration of why didn't any doctor tell me to test my progesterone right away? You know, if this is such an important hormone and level to sustain a pregnancy, why isn't that like a default? Again, I don't have the answers. I am just being really honest. That is a regret that I have and a frustration. So for any of you watching, going through this journey, definitely get your progesterone level tested, talk to your doctor about it. And one thing that I have also learned, which I'll touch on this at the end more, but you have to be your own biggest advocate. I will never ever discount all the hard work that doctors have to do, but you know, some things slip through the cracks, and sometimes not every single box gets checked off. It's not their fault. At the end of the day, it is on us. It's on you to take control of your body, of your situation, of your life, and you have to check off all of those boxes. You just be aggressive and ask questions and take notes. I have a spreadsheet, you guys, and it has all of the dates that I got my blood work taken, all of the levels, and like all of my history, so that I can see either patterns or things that are going up or down, or just keep it all in one place, because there's so many tests that you go through in a journey like this. With that being said, I'm gonna move on to the second really big discovery that I made in this process. Again, it was something that I asked to test. It was something that I'm in a few fertility related groups on Facebook, and I was reading posts from girls that were saying, get this tested. Your doctor will not bring it up, or my doctor said no to this test, and I pushed back and I got it tested and it came back positive. And this is about the MTHFR gene mutation. So I know that's a really long acronym. Pretty much what MTHFR is it is a gene mutation that prevents your body from being able to convert folic acid to folate. So folic acid is really important for a pregnancy and for a baby's health, right? Right. So if you have MTHFR, your body has a lessened ability to convert folic acid into folate. And for those of you that don't know, I didn't know until like a few months ago, folic acid is the synthetic version of folate. So folate is like nature's true version, and it's like in spinach, etc. Folic acid is the synthesized man-made version. For some people that have MTHFR, and they estimate that about 40% of women have it, they cannot break down folic acid and they cannot convert it into folate, and it gets stored in their body as a toxin. And there are, goodness, about 5 different, I don't know if strains is the right word, or variations of MTHFR. I have A1298C. Another version is C677T. And there's heterozygous of each, homozygous of each, and to be honest, you guys, I might be butchering some of this, so I highly recommend for you to do a quick Google search. It is a lot of information, a lot to kind of process. I'm still processing it myself. All that I know for sure is that I have the A1298C and I am heterozygous. Okay. As I mentioned, that means that I cannot process folic acid and that I need folate. So what the recommendations are is to be sure to avoid folic acid at all costs. Can you believe being told that? Like, when everything that we're always told is folic acid, that's what you need for a healthy pregnancy, for a healthy baby. And now it's like, avoid it at all costs. I had to go through my prenatals that I'm taking, any other supplements, even some foods have folic acid. They're like folic acid enriched foods, etc. And I need to have folate or methylfolate instead. So that was one really big revelation, but I will also say that the version that I have is the least serious. There are, as I mentioned, there's a few different variations and some are more severe than others, and I have the absolute least serious one. Another thing about MTHFR, it also impacts your blood and it clots more than normal. So a lot of women that have MTHFR have to take baby aspirin every day to thin out their blood a bit, and which in regards to fertility is really important because you need proper blood flow to the uterus for a successful implantation, fertilization, and an eventual pregnancy. So when I brought this up to my doctor, I want to say that as I've researched and talked to other people about MTHFR, it seems to be a very controversial topic in the fertility and medical community. Some doctors argue that it is absolutely irrelevant and makes zero impact. Others say that no, it absolutely makes an impact. Duh! I feel like that's the world we live in today, where there's a lot of things that it's like some people say absolutely yes, some people say absolutely no. Like I said, at the end of the day, you just have to educate and inform yourself and make the best decision for you. My doctor said that she does not believe that it impacts my ability to conceive, but once I'm pregnant, she says that it is important to know. So there's that. Due to the MTHFR diagnosis, I am now taking baby aspirin every day, and I am no longer having anything folic acid, instead have folate. Then the last thing that I want to say on this topic is that another thing I'm kicking myself for is a few months back, one of you girls DM'd me. She was a nurse and she was talking to me about doing a heavy metal detox. And it's something that I thought was interesting and I really wanted to do, but you know, guys, like life is busy and we don't always get to do everything that we want to do. And I just never got around to it. And now, after finding out about my MTHFR diagnosis and the fact that folic acid gets stored as a toxin in my body, not to mention all the other toxins that we can have in our body from all the products that we use and all just the chemicals in everyday life, I'm really kicking myself for not doing that heavy metal detox. Yeah, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Like, I'm not mad at myself, but I'm not gonna lie, there is that little thing that's just like, what if? What if I did that heavy metal detox? Would that have been the game changer? There is one last thing that happened a few weeks ago that really almost completely derailed our plans, because I will let you guys know that we decided to proceed with doing IVF this next month. And so that was kind of in our head, like, okay, just waiting to get my period so that we can start scheduling injections and things like that. Obviously, I hoped and prayed that that would be the month that we conceived right before IVF. And so this happened to be when I was in Boston visiting my cousin. So I went to Pop Sugar Playground in New York City. I got to meet so many of you. And during that weekend, or right before it, I went to visit my family on the East Coast. My cousin told me, she's like, hey, there's this herbal doctor that you should go see. He's helped so many women conceive. And yeah, so pretty much since I was in Boston, I was like, why not? I absolutely believe in having a balance of Eastern and Western medicine and approaches. I still do acupuncture every single week, except for when I've been traveling lately. So pretty much I went to see this doctor. He was like in his late 70s probably. He asked me a ton of questions, and pretty much he gave me this herbal tea to drink. And he, like, you guys, I wish I could have filmed this. It was like an entire wall of herbs. And then he was just like, of like so many different ones. He was measuring them though, so that made me feel a little bit better that there was a method to his madness. But the bombshell that he dropped on me is I told him, well, we're gonna be doing IVF next month. And he was like, no. He was like, don't do it yet. Drink the tea 2 times a day for 3 months. Try naturally for another 2 months. And then if you haven't conceived, do IVF. I don't think I've ever been more conflicted in my life, because I truly want to give trying natural every possible chance out there. I also could see that tea being kind of almost a bit of like that detox type thing. And so there's one side of me that was like, if this is what does it and saves us from all of the pain, the mental and emotional drain, the physical side effects that come with IVF, not to mention the cost, why not try it? And Luca and I really, we like struggled with this decision for like about 2 weeks, and pretty much I got my period. So that wasn't the month right before planning IVF. And we just decided, honestly, I can't do 5 more months of the 2-week wait. For those of you that don't know, the 2-week wait is after ovulation, when kind of like the time is up, you know, like you've done all you can to get pregnant, and you just have to wait for 2 weeks until you get your period or not to find out if you conceived. Those 2 weeks kill me. It is just like my entire world revolves around waiting for this moment to know if we conceived or not. There have been some months I've been a little bit successful in distracting myself. Those of you that have been through it, you know how hard it is. I just can't do 5 more of those. It's been 19 months now that we've been trying to conceive. I can't do 5 more. Like, I know that I'm young. I know that I have time. I know that we don't need to be in a rush. I'm just kind of capped out on the 2-week wait and the mental and emotional ups and downs. So we decided that we are starting IVF this month. Oh, hi. Oh, rigatoni. Perfect timing. So today is what? Today is July 9th. Pretty much once I got my period, they put me on birth control. And then it's kind of weird. They actually put you on birth control to control your cycle so that they know exactly how many days you're going to be on it, so that they know when you're going to get off of it and when you're going to get your period, because then you're going to start injections a few days later. So it's kind of a thing that they do to help schedule out the entire process.
Who's doing the injections?
You are. I'm not going to be able to do the injections.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
Even though the first time that he did an injection for me, I had a bruise like that so big on my stomach. That was Christmas Eve, actually. Or was it Christmas? It was Christmas.
It was Christmas.
It was Christmas.
It was Christmas, yeah.
The evening of Christmas Day. So I start injections in a few weeks, and then I'll do injections for about 10 to 12 days, and then I will have my egg retrieval shortly after that. And then you do have to wait. We're doing a frozen cycle. You can do fresh or frozen, but frozen statistically has higher chances of success. So we will wait 1 to 2 months to actually do the transfer. So it's not going to be until the fall until we know anything. Yeah. So there's still going to be a big waiting game, but I feel like it's not going to be as intense as a normal 2-week wait, or at least 5 months of a 2-week wait. So sure. I genuinely am excited. I feel like this is just a huge step in the direction that we have been trying to go in for 19 months. And I know it's not going to be easy. I know it's going to be physically, mentally, and emotionally really hard on me, but I am up for the challenge. That is where we are at. As I mentioned earlier, just you have to be in charge of your own situation, blood work, asking questions, keeping track of things. This is not an easy process. So my heart goes out to any of you, whether you've been through this before or you currently are. Thank you guys so much for all of your love and support. It really helps to know that I'm not alone. So my next video is going to be about the products that I have been using and swapping, what supplements I'm taking. If you guys have any questions on those or anything that I mentioned in this video, just pop that in the comments below. And if you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.